The worst aura moments in WWE. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Mandy Rose's slip, minus 1000. WrestleMania 37 was a special night for fans as well as WWE talent. WWE welcomed back fans for the first time since the outbreak of COVID-19, and it was wonderful to watch a wrestling show in front of fans once again. When Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke made their way down to the ring, Rose had an unfortunate mishap as she slipped over the most humorous manner possible. It was made funnier thanks to the fact that Rose was clearly aware that she was about to fall, so she attempted to save herself, but it was far too late. Thankfully, the former NXT Women's Champion was perfectly fine, and Rose's partner reflected on the infamous botch during an appearance on Ring the Bella. It was the first time that we had a live audience in almost 2 years with WrestleMania, and I felt like we were going out there again, and I had no idea Mandy Rose fell, so I'm telling you from my vision and my perspective, right? So we make our entrance, we come to the top of the ramp, we strike a pose, and we start strutting our stuff, and all of a sudden, I hear the audience roar, and I'm like, oh my god, this is electrifying. So I'm like, oh, go Dana, and I'm strutting extra hard, like I'm feeling myself, not even knowing that she had fallen right behind me. Jinder Mahal's hilarious blunder, minus 2000. Jinder Mahal was never known for his in-ring work, and in 2018 he delivered one of the worst botches ever seen in WWE, and it took place on a major pay-per-view. At the Greatest Royal Rumble event, Jeff Hardy took on Mahal for the US title, and one spot in the match saw Hardy deliver Whisper in the Wind. The problem was that Hardy landed about 2 feet away from the former WWE champion. In a moment of sheer panic, Mahal decided to take the bump and act like Hardy had made complete contact. It was a terrible decision from Mahal as the botch looked ridiculous, and it was truly amateur hour for a talent that just a year prior was getting set to be crowned WWE Champion. Kane's mask comes off, minus 3000. In 2018, WWE made the controversial move to book DX versus the Brothers of Destruction on pay-per-view. This match would see the legendary Shawn Michaels come out of retirement for a substantial payday, and heading into the match there was a ton of criticism, and the common consensus amongst the fans was that the match was a terrible idea. Ultimately, the match was somehow worse than anyone could have ever imagined. There were botches left, right and center, and one botch featuring Kane was more sad than comedic. As Kane and Shawn Michaels were battling in the corner, Kane's mask simply fell off, and awkwardly fell down to the ground. Kane's face was exposed, and although this didn't matter as everyone knew what his face genuinely looked like, it was still ridiculous that his mask wasn't secured to his face. The match was a total and utter disaster, and it's hardly a surprise that the 4 men involved have since distanced themselves from the match completely, with HBK even publicly declaring he regret coming out of retirement altogether. The Great Khali gets confused, minus 4000. For the first few years of the Great Khali's return in WWE, it was clear that WWE and Vince McMahon believed that Khali could be a major star. Khali feuded with names such as The Undertaker, Batista, and even John Cena, and in 2007 he became world champion, which was an indicator that Khali was ready to ascend to the top of WWE. This run flopped mainly because Khali's in-ring work wasn't at the level fans wanted, and even elite names struggled to get a passable match out of him. In the years following his dismal world title reign, Khali would still be used on TV, mainly in comedic roles, and he had so many botches over his tenure that completely dismantled any aura he had. In 2010, on an episode of Raw, Khali and the Talented Edge engaged in an over-the-top rope challenge, and for whatever reason, Khali misunderstood the rules of the match and he proceeded to step over the top rope. This led to a ton of confusion as nobody even knew what to do. Michael Cole was in total disbelief on commentary, and Jerry Lawler tried to save it by saying that Khali had to be thrown over the top rope. Batista trips, minus 5000. WrestleMania 35 was to be the final match of Batista's career. He was going to retire in a featured match against his former mentor Triple H, and just as Batista was culminating his incredible entrance on the grand stage, everything went wrong. As Batista entered the ring, he slipped over. It was incredibly awkward, but it was typical for the WWE great as he was able to recover and act like nothing happened. The animal has a bizarre habit of delivering hilarious botches over his career, as who can even forget the time he took the funniest bump of all time on Raw in 2010. It was as if Batista was lagging in real time, and it was so incredible to witness. Bobby Lashley is lost, minus 6000. Even the most seasoned pro wrestlers are prone to botching a segment, and in 2019, Bobby Lashley was completely clueless when it came to what he was supposed to be doing on Raw. The botch in question occurred when Lashley's infamous time as part of the faction alongside Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. In the segment, Kurt Angle was being beaten down by the trio, but Lashley had zero clue how the segment was scripted to play out. In the spot, Corbin was holding the steel steps while McIntyre had a hold of Angle. Hilariously, Lashley paced back and forth as Lashley was trying to interpret what he was even supposed to do. The spot was supposed to see Lashley and McIntyre team up to throw Angle into the steps, yet this was clearly far too convoluted for Lashley to understand. Jack Swagger's big moment, minus 7,000. The Money in the Bank ladder match is a match where WWE pinpoints the fans who is next in line for the world title. In 2010, at the final Money in the Bank ladder match to take place at WrestleMania, WWE made the questionable call to go with Jack Swagger as Mr. Money in the Bank. This was a questionable call, mainly because fans weren't exactly pushing for Swagger to move up the card, and whilst his in-ring work was decent, his promo and character work simply wasn't main event material. Nevertheless, when Swagger ascended to the top of the ladder at WrestleMania 26, WWE probably hoped that Swagger's win would instantly cement him as a star, and due to Swagger winning a star-studded ladder match, they likely hoped that he would have immediate aura and credibility. Unfortunately for WWE, they were very wrong. The issue was that Swagger was unable to do the briefcase whilst at the top of the ladder. The struggle went on and on and on, and it was so excessively long that WWE were forced to edit most of the pandemonium out of replays of the show. Swagger, once he was eventually able to retrieve the briefcase, would cash in just days later to become world champion, and his struggle with the briefcase would become an omen for what was to become one of the most lifeless world title runs in company history. Stone Cold Steve Austin gets stuck, minus 8,000. And when you're WWE's top star, presentation matters, so if the top guy in the company suffers a humiliating botch, it drastically impacts their aura. At the 1999 SummerSlam event, Stone Cold Steve Austin was defending the WWE title against Mankind and Triple H, and during the match, Austin somehow got his legs stuck in the ropes. Austin was unable to free himself, so he had no choice but to go off script to communicate to Triple H for assistance. The game immediately broke character to help Austin, and it was apparent that both men were finding great humor in the situation. Shane McMahon tears his quad, minus 9,000. WrestleMania 39 featured the surprise return of Shane McMahon. McMahon returned to challenge The Miz in an impromptu matchup, and whilst it was initially great to see the prodigal son return to WWE programming, any aura surrounding him quickly disappeared. Just seconds into the match with The Miz, McMahon legitimately tore his quad following a leapfrog. The match had to be instantly stopped and McMahon was helped to the back. Tearing a quadriceps just seconds into a match isn't ideal, and the fact that this was a WrestleMania was even crazier. WWE improvised following the injury, and out of nowhere they had Snoop Dogg beat The Miz. This was quick thinking by WWE, and the immediate turnaround following McMahon's injury highlighted just why WWE is the biggest wrestling company in the world. And Titus World Slide, minus 10,000. All fans could focus on following the greatest Royal Rumble in 2018 was Titus O'Neil's iconic botch. As O'Neil entered the Rumble match, he slipped and fell under the ring, and it was so unbelievable that for a moment WWE fans assumed it was scripted, but then it became apparent that O'Neil had legitimately slipped. WWE replayed the entrance slip up multiple times, and it was widely reported that former WWE chairman Vince McMahon was crying with laughter backstage, and he was the one demanding to see the footage again and again and again. In an interview with Fightful, the man behind the botch revealed that he's not remotely embarrassed by the incident. No, I'm not. It's one of those things that in life, much as a lot of stuff that happened in my life, I tell people all the time I fell down and got back up so many times. I'm still alive and well to tell this story, and I'm an entertainer at the end of the day, so I don't really have anything to be embarrassed about. What would you guys think of these aura moments in WWE? Let us know in the comments down below, and hit that like button if you want to see a part 2. As always, I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.